So today we're going to put the finishing touches on our expanded version of Grian's Hermitcraft 7 mansion. If you've been following along, you'll know that in the first video we created the entire interior of the mansion, as well as creating the beginnings of the exterior completely from scratch before the Hermitcraft 7 world download was even available. And then in the second episode we did a huge transformation of the exterior of the build, making the exterior look a lot more like Grian's and also expanding the build hundreds of blocks vertically, making it look more like a castle. And what you see in this epic shot right here is about where we left off. And to be honest, I think it looks great already, but oh, we can make it so much better. Just you wait, challenge accepted, because today we're going to be building the lower extensions of the build that Grian had on his original build that just adds so much grandness to the whole aesthetic of the build. And of course we're also going to be cleaning up the back of the build because it looks like a mess right now. Yeah, we're gonna rectify that, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and if you can, please press that big red button, turn it gray, and then the bell one goes ding dong when you press it, and that's really, you know, fun to see. And yeah, let's get right into it. So the first thing I did of this entire process was actually off camera, which I think is awfully Hermitcrafty of me, and it was digging both of the trenches on both sides of the castle. I didn't want to do that on camera because there's a lot of measurements and getting all the shapes right, and I just wanted to make sure I got that all dialed in. But nonetheless, you can probably see that it's not as deep as Grian's, and it's a lot wider than Grian's trenches. And that is, you would know if you've watched the previous videos, that I built the mansion not high enough, and then I couldn't move everything because I built the interior and I didn't want to mess things up by moving the entire mansion up. So I had to finagle the landscaping around it to match that. So now we don't have trenches that are as deep, but I make it work really, really well, and they're a lot wider too, so I had to fill the space in with a lot more stuff. But as you can see, we're just making the first grass landing here, and I'm gonna be going for like multiple grass landings, you know, like cascading all the way down to the ground, and it's gonna be very, very cool. And around this time it occurred to me that it would be absolutely hilarious. I mean, only if I had the gall to actually do it, but you know, as I'm building out all of these really complex, you know, grass landings with these intricate stone shapes, you know, melding it all together, adding vegetation and all this amazing stuff, cascading all the way down to the ground. You know, if I added some really like dramatic and theatrical music, you know, just as I'm talking, you know, like all of a sudden abruptly as I'm speaking. Now that was really, really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now you can see we're building a tree up on this newly beautifully terraformed area that I think turned out really, really well. And oh no, we messed that one up. Okay, let's scrap that. Let's try it again. Okay, we're building this tree. Oh no. Okay, yeah, we messed that one up too. Okay, third time's the charm. Here we go. I'm really not good at making trees, unless they're really, really big. This one turns out pretty well. It's not great, but I end up going with it. And then I paste another iteration of that very tree lowered down in one of those other grass landings there, and I think that looks excellent. And here we are filling out the walls, and oh, Okay, I think I put the wrong type of cyan terracotta there for a second. I put the glazed terracotta there for a second. This is just a cocktail of mistakes. I'm really sorry about that. I can't control past me. He just does weird stuff when he's sleep deprived, you know. You know how it goes. So yeah, we're just filling out this entire wall here. And now, quite like Grian's version of this build, we're creating like this outcropping, this pathway in which, you know, features a series of like windows / archway doors. In Grian's version of the build, you know, they're backed with black concrete to, you know, create a sense of depth. But in this case, I was like, you know, I think it would be actually really, really cool that I actually created the depth, like actually create arched doorways and create this whole outcropping as kind of like an Italian-styled terrace walkway overlooking like this whole village area. And once that came to my mind, and I also had this other idea of on the lower section, I'm also going to have the, you know, the actual depth in the larger arches, and there's going to be a canal coming all the way across, and that's going to be kind of like a canal way, you know, for, you know, shipping merchandise and things of that nature. And as you can see, starting all the way at the bottom there with those larger arches where the canalway is going to be carved in, you could see I'm actually doing a gradient like anywhere else you could see in Grian's mansion. He established this gradient that creates, you know, a large sense of contrast towards the top of the build and a sense of contrast of lightness, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. And you can see I'm actually going to add a nice pop of contrast as well by making the walkway a mix of light gray terracotta and smooth stone. And as you can see, the pathway is pretty bright right now. It probably stands out a bit too much to you guys right now, and you're like, hey, what are you doing there, huh? And I do make it work towards the end, and it actually turns out really, really nice. And but, you know, the main mentality here is that there's not going to be enough color, you know, down here in this area, and I do want to draw the eyes to places of interest within the build. Sometimes I can't explain my methodology. Sometimes I just do stuff, and, you know, when you guys see that they look good, you're like, hey, this guy must know what he's doing. I don't. But my brain knows what it's doing sometimes. And it was around this time that I actually had a bunch of replay mod footage go completely corrupt on me, so I couldn't actually grab the footage of me actually creating the depth of the lower canal area and the walkway section. But as you can see, we do indeed have a double-layered situation going on here, where we have space to put these really nice benches in this walkway area, and we have this whole really cool ambiance going on. And down in the canal section, you can see we have polished andesites, you know, separating the grass and the water. We have some rocks and, you know, flowers and things of that nature down there, you know, sprucing it up and making it look really nice. It's really starting to come alive as we're putting these spruce trees down here. We're going to do great stuff down here. And wait a minute, what's that? Do I hear distant boss music? That's right, boys. We're doing the back of the mansion. We're cleaning it up, because, let's be honest, it looks pretty bad back here. It looks like a train wreck. It looks worse than a train wreck. It looks like an entree from one of Guy Fieri's restaurants. It's an absolute mess back here. We're not going to do anything particularly nuts back here. We're not going to create some kind of, you know, like intricate, you know, town or anything like that. The main goal here is just to make it clean, cohesive, and nice to look at, and not even comparable to, you know, like the tragic sequel to the beloved family film Space Jam, you know, nothing like that. We want to make it up to the standard of the rest of the build and make it look like something you might want to come back to. And as you can probably see, I'm carving like a whole ravine section here. The intention there, of course, was to put a river there eventually. I eventually decided against it and I just cover it up. But apart from that, you can see we're covering up the back here. Pretty standard stuff, just like copying the basic designs seen around the entirety of the mansion, and the general, you know, 2x2 angling of the roofs and things of that nature. And I do come to the conclusion that the back is way too flat, so I create like a protruding section that kind of creates a little more depth, and it just doesn't look like a large pancake, you know, square-shaped pancake on the back side of the build, and it makes it look a lot nicer. And of course, we turn everything into grass and then add terraforming wherever, you know, things are physically off the ground, because we had to essentially take a huge chunk of blocks and delete them entirely and get everything really, really flat. So now anywhere where there's a weird chunk error, it looks like a render chunk area, we're, you know, just adding some nice clean terraforming with the world edit mod. And now we're back to the front of the mansion where we have this wonderful zoom in shot, and you can see how things are coming along already, and you can see I actually added like a bordering around the trenches, quite like Grian has in his own design. And as we go down into the left trench here, where we're going to have our village, we're going to establish our first house. And this process was really, really interesting because I had to adhere to a few different principles. A, you know, it had to be something that I felt like Grian would build. B, it had to be obviously coinciding with the general style that could be seen around the mansion. And C, I wanted it to be more complex than the smaller, you know, like, protruding shapes and little huts that protrude off of the mansion, because although I do think they really work, the simplistic style that is established throughout really works. They don't really look like houses, they more so just look like parts of a structure that are, you know, kind of branching off. So I wanted to make it look more like a proper house, and also make it look like something that Grian would build. And I'm just gonna say right now, it was not easy in the slightest. In fact, I actually had to turn the replay mod off and just finish it off camera, but by the end of it, I was like, oh my, I've created something that I feel like Grian would actually build. I feel like I really, really emulated his typical building style, the shapes he tends to use, you know, how he complements colors with other colors, while also, of course, making it look like it actually fits in the entire landscape, which I think it does. And obviously I had to scale it up quite a bit. I couldn't scale it to the size of a player because it would just, like, the entire build would completely dwarf it. And then off camera I started this second house while also you know, kind of establishing a pathway style that is like bordered with leaves, and then you have mossy stone bricks and mossy cobblestone leading to this, you know, fork in the road with a campfire in the middle of it. And as you can see, we're just building the roof of the other house here. And after I finished the second house, which I think turned out quite well, you can see me adding a variety of greens around both of the houses. I wanted to make it look like the houses belong there more, and one way to do that, of course, is to add greenery and things of that nature, and maybe, you know, add a gradients of, you know, add some dirt, pathway blocks. I figured adding more of a pop would be an excellent idea, because let's be honest, the taiga biome is incredibly hard to work with, and, you know, it can be great, but also at the same time you have to be a little more creative and you have to have a real sense for color. And as you can see, I'm plotting out an area here for a stone enclosure. It took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted to make this stone enclosure be. Eventually I do settle on it being a cow pen of sorts. And it also took me a while to figure out, okay, do I want, you know, dirt bordering it, and what kind of plants do I want to put. Again, trying to make the taiga biome more interesting, because it really, really is color sensitive and hard to do stuff in this biome. And now you see me plotting out the pathway even further, going right into the wall. Then I make another arch there, which is going to form a hallway to the other side, you know, the other, you know, lower side of the lower extension, the right side, mind you. Then came the question, well, what do I put on the right side of this lower extension? I'm not just going to copy over the left side, because that would be super, super lazy, and I didn't want it to make it just another settlement. So I decided left side is going to be a settlement, right side is going to be the more industrious half. So left side is where people live, right side is where resources are produced and then shipped off in the canal system. So you see, the first thing I try to establish here is a mine. I was really excited to do like a really interesting new design of a mine. I wanted to get away from the typical mine design in Minecraft and really do something new and interesting, and really establish some really interesting lush colors around with leaves drooping down, with some lanterns, you know, with rails coming out, a couple mine carts, a couple of chests around, lots of grass, lots of ferns, just like something I'd never done before, and I think it turns out really, really well, especially with, you know, all the terraforming around that. And I didn't want to make it too big. I could have, you know, scaled it up and made it look a little more grand, but I felt like it was scaled up enough, to be honest. And off camera, I actually developed this little hut here that eventually I moved back over to the other side because I just feel like it wasn't really working towards the final product, and it kind of dwarfed certain aspects of this industrious side. So I moved it back over to the settlement side, and I use it more of like a boat shed for docking, and I think it just works so much better in every way. But as you can see on the left side of the mine here, we're starting to establish like an ore deposit area that I fence in pretty similarly to the other side of the lower extension, you know, with the mossy cobblestone, the mossy bricks and the walls and the slabs, just like that, you know, all surrounded with greenery. Lots of greenery around these ore deposits that are closed in with these trap doors. And then I also add some horse-drawn carriages, believe it or not. Kind of a first for me, but it was around this time as well that I was able to actually update to 1.17 with the mods that I had. And actually this whole transition was what has put this video back so far, unfortunately, because for a while my mods just did not work. There was a weird transition there where just everything was broken and I didn't know what to do. But after a while they fixed themselves, so I was able to come back to this project. And now, as you can see, I made another stone enclosure by the canal area over there, and it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do with this section as well. But after a while I was like, oh, how about more carriages with more ore in them? And how about a little storage area? And how about I mock up a design of like a little shipping boat? And I mean, it looks kind of like a canoe type thing, but I think it really works with everything. It took me a long time to mock up the boat design. Really simplistic, really just, you know, to the point, nothing too fancy, but I think it works really, really well. And I mean, this whole side was just a huge creativity project to me, like just like trying to figure out new block palettes, how to make this taiga biome come to life, just using dripstone blocks, using pathway blocks, using dirt, using green wool, using, you know, green concrete powder. Unfortunately, moss didn't really work in what I was doing. I was thinking maybe I should just use a whole bunch of moss in the typical 1.17 fashion, but it just didn't fit, in my opinion. Too textured, and it looked kind of weird from a distance. Now we're finally back over to the left side, the settlement side, and as you can see, we have moved that little hut that I had over there over to this side, and the intention here is just to signify that this is indeed like another place to launch these boats, so you could put merchandise on them and ship them off to wherever the owner of the mansion would like them shipped off to. And here we are putting the final touches on the hut, you know, making sure that there's windows on both sides, because there wasn't windows on both sides initially. Adding pathway blocks around, some dirt, you know, kind of making a little more rustic surrounding around the hut, because, you know, maybe the walkways are a little more trodden, a lot more foot traffic around that general area. You know, you're bringing wet boats out from the water, and you know, so you can imagine that, you know, a little more mud, a little more of a rustic appearance, and just making sure that that's consistent all the way through that general area. You got vines hanging down, and then on the right side of the shed here, you just see like this empty area that I didn't really know what to do with because it was too small for me to put anything significant there, unfortunately. So I just turned it into another storage area. Hey, why not? Beehives and, you know, barrels. And, yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty good. I know I overused, you know, there's barrels and beehives everywhere to make it look, hey, this is where people keep stuff. And, yeah, it's kind of a space filler. Is it lazy? Maybe, but from a distance, I think it looks just fine. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the cinematic and epic fly around and tour of absolutely everything that we have done in the past 3 videos. And I'm just gonna say right now, guys, it was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. This series has been incredibly kind to me, and you guys have been so kind to me as well. And I'm just gonna say that I love the way that it's turned out. You know, the back of the mansion didn't get as much love as I would want it to, but you know, it is a lot of work back there. Oh my god. And there's a lot of people in the community that have done amazing things with the back of it, and I saw those and I was like, you know what? Nah. I'd rather not, to be honest, and that's just how I'm treating the channel these days. You know, the algorithm doesn't really like me these days, but that's fine. You know, I'm totally okay with it. I look at this channel as passion projects and fun stuff, and if I don't want to do it, I won't do it, you know, and I've been having so much more fun with it, and that's why I've been posting more often, and it's absolutely amazing. And I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all the support on this series, guys. And I just want you to enjoy this epic fly around, become immersed in everything that I've done here. And my next video will likely be all 3 of these videos meshed into one, my voice removed, just music, and me building this whole mansion from start to finish. It's going to be a long video, but you'll be able to see the entire process. And on that video, there's probably going to be the world download and not on this one. So keep your eye out for that. Please check out that video when it comes out. Ring that bell so you're notified of it. And once again, love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Kisses. Bye-bye.